Okay, I think we're ready.
Just to start, who are you? Where are you from? What do you do?
I am Cybersilk, Cybersylk. It's not spelled correctly. My given name, the name I was born with, is Fiona Grace Trinity. I am born and raised in Salt Lake City, more specifically the Brickyard area, which is a neighborhood that no one ever talks about, but does exist. I think of myself as a multimodal artist, but I mostly do writing, mostly creative nonfiction essay, some poetry, but then I'm trying to do a lot more visual art, so a lot of collage and photography and some illustration.
Now, for those uninitiated, what is Cybersilk to you?
Ooh, to me, the official term is mapping the energetic web of the wide world. So it's basically me trying to figure out the connections between everything that I love, or just everything in my life. I at the end of the day, I'm a very spiritual, kind of woo-woo person, and I believe literally everything is connected, specifically through love as that connection. And so a lot of what I write about is music, because I love music, and investigating why I love something. But also a lot of almost documentation and archiving of my day-to-day life. I've been doing it for almost 2 years now, and so it even already I look back on the stuff I was writing at the very beginning as a archive of what I was up to 2 years ago. It's multimedia in my head, but I think on the outside it looks like it lives on Substack. Substack is a platform for writing integration. It works as a blog, but also a pretty formal website. And the big thing it does is it can email your publications out to whoever's subscribed to you, and you can monetize stuff. So that's where all my writing lives.
What are some artists that you would say inspire your art?
Inspire my art specifically. The big one is Gabby Abreu, who's also known as Syspoon. Yeah, I have her book right here. I think originally thought I was just going to be a copycat of her. This is her first book, Notes on Shapeshifting, which is mostly it's poetry and prose. And I think she writes about a lot of similar topics to me. And the way she interacts with the internet, I think, is really similar to me. She's 30, so she's kind of coming from a different perspective.
Different era.
Yeah, different era on everything. Writes a lot about connection and how to exist in an embodied life. So live fully. A lot of more spiritual stuff. Other than her, I'm also really inspired by on the poetry side of things, which I'm just now getting back into. I'm really inspired by Rhiannon McGavin. Rhiannon edited this book, which is super cool. Rhiannon, I found her through Button Poetry videos on YouTube when I was 12.
The Minister of Loneliness has abolished email.
Because I was a sad girl, watching slam poetry videos. She also writes about a lot of love and music and a lot of Greek mythology, which I don't necessarily dabble in, but I would love to. And then other than them, I'm very influenced by Fall Out Boy, even if I'm not making stuff that looks like them.
Yeah. The themes, I'm sure.
Yeah, the themes in Fall Out Boy. Fall Out Boy is everything to me, my entire world. I'm so obsessed with them forever and always.
Fall Out Boy article in
Thank you. Yeah, I wrote. I saw them. The article that Aiden's talking about is I saw them live in July of last year, and then wrote I think it's 6,000 words.
It's long.
It's the longest thing I've ever written. 6,000 word essay about my experience at the concert. It's about largely my relationship to Fall Out Boy, but more specifically just the concert. But yeah, I'm really influenced by Pete Wentz's writing, and sometimes when I write more stream of consciousness stuff, I feel like it looks exactly like his old life journal that he kept like way back when.
Would you say that CyberSilk is a different persona than Fiona, or do you think they're inherently intertwined?
I think like every single day, like CyberSilk and Fiona become closer to the same person. Yeah, it originally wasn't supposed to do that, and I originally like wasn't gonna put my name on any of it and be like all mysterious and weird about it and like not show my face and kind of have this separation of self. But then I found really quickly, if you're keeping like a blog style thing, it's really hard to do that because you're writing about your life.
Yeah.
And like when I did this big rebrand in September of last year, when I was picking like colors for it and like symbols and like everything I was going to do with it, I borrowed a lot from my own life. So like the colors are literally supposed to be like, it's colors I wear a lot and colors that are in like
Present in your life.
Yeah, present in my life, but also like it's literally, I think part of it was like I color picked like the yellow from my hair, like in a picture, and like the green from my eyes, to kind of incorporate like, okay, like this is just me. I have an artist name for it to be like, this is what I make art under. I don't want to make art under my name, but I like, there's not a huge like separation.
I was looking around the apartment like, this looks CyberSilk themed.
Yeah, like I have coasters I made that are CyberSilk.
You have CyberSilk coasters?
Yeah, here, if you want to grab them, I can show them all. I made these at Color Me Mine on my partner's birthday. Which I was like, dang, am I being a narcissist? No. He was very excited about them too. This is my logo. Yeah.
That's so cool.
My logo this is a simplified version of it, but like...
In terms of the logo, I mean, I know you explained it a little bit at the beginning, but do you mind going a little bit more in depth on like what your logo of CyberSilk is?
Yeah, I feel so weird calling it a logo. It's like, obviously you have to brand yourself in order to do anything these days, but like it's more, I think in the publication itself, when I'm being all like woo-woo and spiritual about it, I call it like the CyberSilk symbol. And so it's a sun. It's kind of a squarish sun, and then coming out of it are like these squiggly lines that end in a dot, and then it's got like some traditional sun spikes, and then it's got a spiral in the center. The sun itself is yellow, and then the background is green. It's supposed to look like what's called a silk screen PCB board. I think the B in PCB stands for board. And if you look at some of them, like they look like suns.
Yeah.
And so that's like what the logo is supposed to look like. It's like a sun that's also like a chip. So it's very like cybery.
Would you say that like themes of technology or like the internet are inherently intertwined in your work, or is that kind of just...
Totally. I mean, like I think of it like that, and my life is very based on the internet, and like CyberSilk lives on the internet right now, but I actually haven't written as much as I want to about the internet, and that's like a big goal of mine going forward, is to examine like what my relationships to like certain platforms or like the internet as a whole has been. But as of right now, like I've written about like friendships that I have like through the internet, and I wrote a piece a long time ago called, I think like Ceaseless Watcher or something, and it partially about like a brief TikTok fame I had in a fandom.
So maybe not like pieces about the internet, but they're all, they come from the internet.
Exactly, yeah. Like my experiences on the internet, and even like a piece I just wrote was talking like in large part about something that really happened. Like I didn't like name it as like this happened to me over the internet, but like it was explicitly like my life has been defined by the internet. I've been on like my Tumblr account was started, I was looking at it yesterday, when I was 11.
Oh wow.
10 years of Tumblr.
A decade of Tumblr, huh?
Horrible.
In terms of what CyberSilk is right now, do you think that that's going to be similar to what it is in like 5 years, or where do you want to end up? You know, like what do you want CyberSilk to be as a person like right now? You know, what do you hope for?
That's a really difficult question that I'm trying to figure out still, because like in my head there are like a million paths, and I think that like this might be because I'm watching a lot of HBO Girls right now. Sorry,
Classic.
Not sorry.
No, your dad is gay.
I'm like, ooh, like it'd be cool to like release a book of essays. And that's what a lot of like Substack girlies are either doing right now or will end up doing. The big one that comes to mind is like Rain Fisher Kwan. She's like the huge name in the Substack, like girl cultural, like girl blogger. But I'd also love to like expand it out. Like I've always wanted to make music. I don't want to sing or like write music or anything, but I want to do like ambient tracks and then me like reading poetry or like spoken word over it.
It's interesting that you say that you have like a bunch of different branching paths in your head of things you want to do, because it almost reminds me of the Cybersilk logo, where it's like all the paths.
I know
going out.
when I did this, I was like,
Dude.
should I even say no?
Oh,
So I'm glad
yeah.
you put that together.
This might be a hard question to answer,
Yeah.
because like it's pretty much conjecture. But if you were to guess, like, what do you think Cybersilk is to other people?
God, that's been like a big question for me, because like to my friends and like to my loved ones, I'd hope that they saw it like exactly how I do.
I guess that's a better question. Like, what do you hope people?
Yeah, I hope people see it as definitely more than like the platforms that it's living on. I don't think it's just a Substack publication. That's like my fear. I don't want people to be like, oh, like Fiona from Substack, even though that kind of does happen.
It's technically correct, but that's not what you want it to be. Right?
Yeah, I think like I want other people to see it just as like Cybersilk is my artist name, therefore any art that I do, even if it's like a collage or
You can be found anywhere.
something in a collaboration, that's what Cybersilk is.
Where do you think most of your experience comes from as an artist? I know we were talking earlier about how you said, I don't know if you want this to be in the video, but I don't know. You said a lot of your experience came from musical theater.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit it. I guess pre-Cybersilk, like, a quick, like, crash course of what I was up to is, like, elementary school, a lot of, like, kind of musical theater. I took, like, theater classes in late elementary school, but I also was, like, a strong writer and, like, hyperlexic and always reading, and so I tried to, like, write fiction and shit, and like, I love fiction. It's really hard for me to write, but when I was a kid, I guess it wasn't.
Yeah.
And then in middle school, tons of musical theater. I was, like, totally a theater kid in middle school. My school had, like, a seemingly unlimited budget for theater, so we had really, really nice, like, well-done things. And I also, like, started becoming friends with people who were artists. So I didn't do any visual art throughout all of my schooling, but, like, I knew visual artists, and I started knowing, like, in middle school, I met, like, a few, like, musicians. And then into high school, I, like, didn't do any art formally in high school, aside from, I did speech and debate. That was my...
Classic.
and that can get very creative. And is very writing based. And I did like the more theatrical events in it. And then my junior year of high school was kind of the big, like, everything came together moment. I did theater that year, and it was a horrible experience.
I see.
Ooh.
Last couple questions. Basic one. Top 5 bands, top 5 movies.
Ooh, that's awesome.
I know, it's hard.
Okay, top 5 bands. I have, like, a number 1 and then, like, just some others that aren't.
Yeah.
So number 1 is Fall Out Boy.
Of course.
Yay. So Fall Out Boy, and then I love... These are just off the top of my head. I don't know if these are definitive.
It's not a binding thing. But
Yeah, I know, but I'm like, oh god. Radiohead, The Mountain Goats, Car Seat Headrest, and... Like, it's hard picking the 4th one. I guess I'd have to say Boy Genius, even though I'm starting to feel weird about them. Yeah. And then movies. That's a little easier for me. So I just love 2 directors. I love David Fincher, and I love Denis Villeneuve, I think is how you pronounce it. He did Dune. So 5 movies. Fight Club, The Social Network. I feel like such a bro. Like, Fight Club, The Social Network, Arrival. Maybe I'm not gonna say Dune Part 2. I feel strongly about it, but like it's
Recency
like
bias too,
yeah,
probably. Yeah.
super recency bias. Sing Street is kind of underground. It's really cute. It's about an Irish band in high school, and it's got really good music in it. And I guess the last one would have to be Perks of Being a Wallflower.
It got less and less bro dude as you.
I know. Yeah, I'm like Fight Club, Social Network. Listen, they're all very good movies.
Second to last question: as someone who has put out like multiple pieces of art, I know a lot of people have trouble even getting to that point. Do you have any advice to people on like how to inspire themselves to create art?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like, in order to make good art, you have to make bad art first.
That's true.
And if you judge, but like you can't be too obsessed with your bad art, like you can't be like, oh, this is the bad art era, because you actually never know. I mean, just like a month ago, I published a poem I wrote when I was 17, and like even a year ago, I would have thought that was the bad art. But I think like perfectionism will kill everything and like will make you hoard everything that you make.
Yeah.
And I think just like ask for help on things, especially if you're working as like a solo act. Like getting people to collaborate with you. Even if it's just like, hey, I want your eyes on this before I publish it, or like, will you listen to this song? That's really helpful, especially if you know more established artists.
Oh, yeah.
They're usually willing to do it, usually like ecstatic to take a break from whatever they're doing.
Mhm.
And then I guess the last piece is like such a huge piece of advice, but like do the artist's way. If you don't know how to make art, but you really want to, and you feel like, oh, you're like, you have writer's block or whatever, like artist's way, all the way.
Last question, pretty easy one. Where can people find you?
You can find me Cybersilk on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok as far as social media goes. And then my Substack is also Cybersilk. I think it's just cybersilk.substack.com.
I'll put it on the screen.
Thank you.
There it is.
Please subscribe to the Substack. People don't know how Substack works, and that's
They think they need to
okay.
pay to subscribe to
Yeah, and you can pay if you are wealthy. If you want to be my wealthy benefactor, paying gets you nothing right now. But
it gets you the satisfaction of supporting an artist.
being a patron of the arts, yeah. But yeah, it's you just put your email in, and then every time I publish something, you get an email. There's also a Substack app. Like, there's a lot of ways you can find it. It's just Substack is like the place.
I'm sure that they can find it probably from your Instagram as well.
Instagram links it, yeah. So
Well, thank you for letting me interview. I think
No
I
problem.
understand you more as an artist. It was a really wonderful time.
thank you.
appreciate
I'm
it.
honored.
Any last words before we go?
Believe in yourself. Everything is everything. A leap of faith. Music is art, is love, is magic, is everything. Everything is everything.